All right, let's dive into the hidden blueprint of your mind's decision-making process. It turns out the toughest opponent you'll ever face isn't someone else. It's the one sitting right inside your own head. You know, our minds are rigged with these invisible tripwires. We call them cognitive biases, and they're practically designed to make us stumble at the worst possible moments. They're the reason we make bad investments or stay in jobs we hate, all while our brain is telling us we're being perfectly rational. So, first up, we're going to identify one of the most common and, frankly, one of the most dangerous bugs in our mental software. It's a glitch that completely warps our view of what it really takes to succeed. We've all heard the stories, right? The college dropouts who went on to build billion-dollar empires. It makes dropping out seem like a genius move. But here's the thing. For every one of those success stories, there are literally millions of others who also dropped out and failed. We just never hear about them. We only see the survivors. What we're seeing is just this tiny, totally misleading fraction of the real story. Think about it. The thousands of actors who gave up and went home, the millions of rejected books sitting in a slush pile, they don't get the big interviews. Their failure is completely invisible. And because of that silence, these incredibly risky paths can look deceptively safe. But it's not just the outside world fooling us. Now let's look inward at the internal biases. The really sneaky ways our own ego and our past decisions trick us into making terrible choices right here, in the present. Okay, this is that nagging feeling that makes you sit through a truly awful movie just because you paid for the ticket. It's the reason people keep pouring more and more money into a failing business, thinking, well, I've already put so much in, I can't just walk away now. We get obsessed with trying to justify our past investments, even if it means we lose more in the future. So here's the key to escaping that trap. You have to learn to just mentally write off what's already gone. That money, it's spent. That time, it's gone. The only question that actually matters is this. Based on the facts right now, what is the smartest move going forward? Now this one. This might be the single most dangerous error in our thinking today, and it has been put on steroids by social media algorithms that are designed to feed us exactly what we already want to hear. We all like to think we're open-minded, but our brain, well, it has a very different agenda. Think about it like this. A scientist is looking for the truth, wherever it leads, even if it completely shatters their own theory. But our brain, by default, acts like a lawyer. It decides what it wants to believe first, and then it goes out and cherry-picks only the evidence that supports its case, while actively ignoring anything that might prove it wrong. Okay, so we've looked inward. Now let's zoom out and shift our focus to how the outside world, companies, marketers, even our friends, knowingly or not, exploits these mental flaws to influence how we behave. Picture this. You're walking down the street, and you see a huge crowd of people, all staring up at the sky. What do? You can't help it. You look up too. You automatically assume they must know something you don't. That's social proof in action. It's a powerful mental shortcut, but man, it can also lead us way off track. These little labels are specifically designed to switch off your critical thinking. They make you just default to the popular choice because, hey, there's safety in numbers, right? But history is absolutely littered with examples where the crowd was dead wrong. Sometimes clear thinking means having the courage to question the herd. Here's a weird thing about our brains. They don't really understand absolute value. We only understand things when we compare them to other things. We need a reference point. And let me tell you, retailers know this better than anyone. So, imagine you walk into a store. The first thing a salesperson does is show you this jacket. And the price? 20,000 rupees seems totally outrageous. But what they've just done is they've planted a very high anchor in your mind. They're setting the stage. Now, when they show you this jacket, your brain doesn't see it on its own. It instantly compares it to that 20,000 rupee anchor. And suddenly, 5,000 rupees seems incredibly reasonable. It feels like a fantastic deal. The price of the jacket didn't change at all, but your perception of its value completely did, all because of that contrast. We've all been taught that more choice is always better. More choice, more freedom, more options, more happiness, right? Well, what's fascinating is that a ton of research shows that having too many choices can actually lead to anxiety, to indecision, and believe it or not, less satisfaction with whatever you end up choosing. So in this classic experiment, a supermarket set up a tasting booth with 24 different flavors of jam. A lot of people stopped to look, but the sheer number of options was overwhelming. Only 3% of them actually bought a jar. The next day, they offered only 6 flavors. And guess what happened? Sales exploded. They went up tenfold, with 30% of shoppers making a purchase. Fewer options made the decision clearer and easier. So, we've identified some of the biggest glitches in our mental operating system. Now we get to the most important part. How do we actually fight back? This final section is all about giving you a practical tool you can use. See, trying to just remember all these biases and overcome them with sheer willpower, it's like a pilot trying to fly a jumbo jet from memory. It's just not going to work. Experienced pilots don't just trust their intuition, they trust their systems. And we need to do the same thing for our big decisions. So before you make any big choice, changing careers, a major purchase, a new investment, get in the habit of just running through these questions. This little checklist acts as your personal defense system. It forces you to pause and look beyond your brain's flawed automatic shortcuts. Because ultimately, this isn't about memorizing a bunch of facts. It's about upgrading your thinking process itself. And in a world that is just overflowing with information and manipulation, the ability to think clearly, that's not just a skill anymore. It's a superpower. By understanding these hidden tripwires, you now have the blueprint. You can start to spot them in action, in the news, in ads, and most importantly, inside your own mind. You have the tools to pause, to question, and to take back control. So the next time your brain tries to deceive you, will you be able to catch